The drama surrounding Shadur Sanders has reached a point where even the loudest skeptics can no longer pretend they were simply asking fair questions. What we are witnessing right now is not quiet acknowledgment or subtle adjustment. It is full-scale backtracking, and few examples make that clearer than Colin Cowherd. For months, Cowherd positioned himself as one of the gatekeepers of quarterback legitimacy, openly questioning whether Shedeur belonged in the NFL conversation at all. He dismissed the idea of Sanders as a franchise player, framed his confidence as a liability, and even used his draft slide as a morality lesson about humility. That version of the narrative is now collapsing under the weight of what Sanders is putting on the field. The shift from Cowherd has been striking, not just because he changed his opinion, but because of how reluctantly it arrived. There is no triumph in his tone now, no authority. What replaces it is hesitation, recalibration, and an unmistakable attempt to get out in front of a story that has already passed him by. When Cowherd says that watching Shedeur reminds him of the quarterback he saw at Colorado, that statement alone is an admission. It acknowledges that the traits he once dismissed never disappeared. They were simply ignored. The confidence, the command, the ability to elevate broken situations were always there. Now that those same traits are translating at the NFL level, the excuses are gone. What makes this reversal even more revealing is the context in which it happened. Shedeur did not put up numbers in ideal conditions. He did not benefit from a fully healthy offense or a perfectly protected pocket. He played through depleted personnel, bad weather, and instability. Yet he still moved the ball at will, pushed the offense downfield, and showed control in moments where young quarterbacks typically fold. When Cowherd points out that Sanders threw for nearly 400 yards while missing multiple starters, that is not just praise. It is an admission that the original evaluation was incomplete at best and agenda-driven at worst. Earlier, Cowherd leaned heavily on draft position as a weapon. Being selected later than expected became proof of limitations rather than circumstance. It was framed as humility being forced onto Shedeur rather than an opportunity earned. His father was dragged into the discussion, accused of overexposure and ego, as if family pride somehow disqualifies talent. That framing now looks hollow. Draft position does not complete throws. Draft position does not read defenses. Draft position does not stand tall under pressure. Shadur Sanders does those things. As Cowherd's stance softened, another voice was already undergoing an even more dramatic transformation. Dan Orlovsky, once relentless in his criticism, has moved from skepticism to open apology. That journey matters because Orlovsky built his brand on quarterback evaluation. He did not simply question Shedur's readiness. He questioned his arm, his interviews, his demeanor, and his future. The critique was constant, and at times, personal. Sanders was treated less like a developing prospect and more like a problem that needed to be exposed. That approach collapsed the moment the tape became undeniable. Orlovsky now spends time breaking down Sanders' mechanics, praising his processing speed, and highlighting plays that reflect high-level NFL quarterbacking. The same analyst who once called him one of the worst throwers now points out elite decision-making under pressure. The same voice that questioned his maturity now studies his poise in collapsing pockets. That is not evolution. That is correction. What changed was not Shedur's confidence or identity. What changed was opportunity. Once he was allowed to run real concepts, execute under center, operate boot action, and make full field reads, the story rewrote itself. Sanders is playing faster, not because he is rushing, but because he is seeing the field clearly. His head snaps immediately after he locates the end man. He adjusts to protection changes. He makes throws that cannot be taught. These are the details that separate projection from production, and they are now on display weekly. But the irony is that many of the traits being praised now were the same ones used against him earlier. His calm was mistaken for arrogance. His self-assurance was framed as entitlement. His interviews were dissected for tone rather than substance. Even his physical soreness was turned into a talking point, as if playing through discomfort were a weakness rather than a reality of professional football. Through all of it, Sanders never responded publicly. He did not campaign. He did not argue. He let the tape build his case. That restraint is why this moment feels different. This is not a flash performance forcing temporary praise. This is sustained growth forcing permanent recalibration. Sanders has shown he can handle deficits, command late-game drives, and perform when structure breaks down. He has proven that his college success was not system-dependent, and his confidence was not misplaced. When analysts who once waited for failure now scramble to explain why they were wrong, the conversation shifts entirely. What we are seeing now is not just critics changing their minds. It is the collapse of a narrative that never fully accounted for reality. Sanders does not fit neatly into old molds. He does not perform humility on demand. He does not shrink himself to make others comfortable. That discomfort bled into evaluation, whether acknowledged or not. Now that his performance has stripped away every football-related excuse, what remains is accountability. This is why the apologies and backpedaling feel incomplete. Acknowledging talent after it becomes undeniable is easy. Standing on evaluation when it is unpopular is harder. Sanders forced the correction not with noise, but with excellence. He did not ask to be believed. He made belief unavoidable. The broader implication goes beyond one quarterback. It exposes how quickly certainty in sports media can dissolve when challenged by performance. It shows how often perception leads evaluation instead of the other way around. And it reminds everyone watching that development is not linear, and opportunity matters as much as talent. Shadur Sanders' rise is not just about silencing critics. It is about redefining how quarterbacks like him are judged. It is about refusing to conform to outdated expectations and letting preparation speak louder than projection. The people who doubted him most loudly now find themselves explaining why he works, why he fits, and why the Browns may have found their future after all. So now the conversation belongs to you. Has Shadur Sanders fully exposed the flaws in how he was evaluated, or is this just the beginning of an even bigger shift in perception? Do you believe critics like Colin Cowherd and Dan Orlovsky are genuinely owning their mistakes, or simply adjusting to stay relevant as the story moves forward? And most importantly, do you see Shadur Sanders as the long-term franchise quarterback Cleveland has been searching for all these years? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you want to stay locked in on this journey as it continues to unfold, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you do not miss what comes next.